Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday, March 7th, 2023 council meeting. This will be our first time that we are moving it to Tuesdays. And so this one here is the first meeting of the month, and it is handled at 12:30. Our second one will be at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. on the third Tuesday of the month, followed by the planning meeting, which is the fourth Tuesday of the month. So let's just keep you informed. Next, we'll have the call to order, and I'll call this meeting to order at 12:31. And then we'll do the territorial land acknowledgement. Before I begin this meeting, I would like to formally recognize the traditional keepers of this land, and specifically our neighbors of the Alderville First Nation, the formal territorial acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge the township of Alton Colony is located on the Mississauga Ashaninka territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississauga Ashaninka. The township of Alton Colony respectfully acknowledges that the Mississauga Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and the integrity for generations to come. We move on to item 3. Item 3 is a moment of silence for our fallen soldiers and citizens. And we want to specifically think about anybody that is in Ukraine, whether they be Canadian or Ukrainian descendants, as well as the Russian people as well. We'll take that moment of silence. Thank you. Item 4, disclosure of pecuniary interest, the general nature thereof. Deputy Mayor Smoker.
Through you, Mayor Logo, I'll be passing Madam Clerk declaration of pecuniary interest dated today. It is firstly budget item 6.1, and that has to do with the library board budget and due to pending litigation. Secondly, with that budget is the Grafton Green Thumbs budget. I was a board member and I worked on that budget. Lastly, agenda item 13.1. It has to do with the library board minutes for the 3 meetings that are listed on the agenda. That will be to do with financial items on through those meetings. And the reason is due to pending litigation. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Next, going on to item 5, which is the approval of the agenda as circulated. Be it resolved, the agenda for the regular council session of Tuesday, March 7, 2023, be approved as circulated. If I get a mover and a second for that. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councilor Group. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Motion's carried. Approval of the minutes, and these are the budget session minutes of January 31st, 2023. Be it resolved that the budget session minutes of January 31st, 2023 be approved. If I get a mover and a second for this. Moved by Councilor O'Neill, seconded by Councilor Ainsworth. All in favor?
Excuse me, Mayor Logo, I would like to be in favor of the budget as posted, but minus those 2 items.
Excuse me, that probably should be under. This is supervising. But I'll call the vote first, because I'm not sure we've got that. All in favor? Motion is carried. Now we going to business arising from previous minutes. Whatever.
It is just that when I was voting in favor of the budget, I was voting in favor of the budget as posted, but without the library board budget and without the Grafton Green Thumbs budget.
Thank you. Any other further questions or comments regarding those minutes? Councilor O'Neill?
On page 16, and I'm just trying to call it up, it says a member of council, and I believe it was several members of council that suggested a 10-year feasibility study. So I think that should probably read council suggested rather than a member of council.
Mike?
Through you, Mayor Logo. So, for the budget for the fire department, they had, money put in there that I think we took away for them to, do some cleaning on Station 2, which I think the Public Works did, but there was that big tank that needed to be moved. And I think they need that area to, make their shop, for the bunker gear changing and maybe an extra room for both sexes, and that spot was going to be used for that, and maybe the CBA air compressor refill tank was going to go there. So I'm wondering if we could relook at how much it would cost for them to get that big tank out of there.
Yeah, through your worship, I can have staff investigate the cost of getting it out through the fire chief. He'll be able to get those costs. Yeah. I can
Okay,
do that.
great. Okay, thanks.
Sorry.
So make a motion for staff to look in with the fire department, the cost of removing the big tank out of Station 2. Yeah, yeah. Yep.
I will second that, and then I do have something to add.
Okay, second by Councilor O'Neill. Go ahead, Councilor O'Neill.
So I'm the liaison with the fire, so I have spoken with Fire Chief Dawson about this. And the understanding that I have of what we discussed and what he's been allowed to do or not do is that there's going to be revenue from this. So I don't think we just want the cost, but the revenue. And so he said that he was going to look into that and bring it back at some point. So it is probably good that we're establishing that, but I think it should include that what would be the revenue from the metal, essentially, from it.
Good point.
Through your worship, yeah, I'll work with the fire chief, and we'll get both those costing and the revenue from it. So I'll work with staff.
Is it still work? I don't know if anybody want to make it work. Maybe somebody wants it to use.
Yeah, I'm not sure if your mayor, again, I'll work with the fire chief. He may have an idea as well. So.
Yeah. Okay, moved and seconded, all in favor? Motion's carried. Anything else in business rising? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 8, and item 8 is the building planning department. 8.1, council report from Daryl Hall, CBO and MBEO. Planning assistant dated March 7th, 2023. Regarding the building permit summary for January and February 2022. Darryl, we've got you here.
I'm here, yeah.
Okay, it's your chair. Go ahead, please.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon, your worship and council. Through you, your worship. Yeah, this is my building permit summary for January and February of 2023. It just gives a breakdown of how many is issued and what we've taken in for for dollar wise. It also breaks down, what's issued to date and, how many we did per month. We're a little behind what last year was January and February, but, we're pretty equal to 2021, which was a pretty good year as well. So, I can answer any questions that anybody has, or if they'd like me to change anything on the report, just please ask and I can do so. But yeah, I'll answer any questions that council has with respect to the report.
Thank you, Daryl. Go ahead, Councillor.
Through you, Mayor Logo. So Daryl, I just wanted to question, like, where it says the total amount payable to the county. Is that the 6,957?
Correct. So when we take a building permit in here for a single family dwelling, we take development charges for the township development charges, plus the county implemented a bylaw a few years ago to charge development charge on their behalf for each single family dwelling. So that's what we take at permit stage, and then that goes back to the county for each individual one. So we've had 3 single family dwellings taken so far. So we've taken one of them was a reconstruction, I think. So you don't take development charges on that, but the other 2, you took full county development charges.
So the 10,491 minus the 697, which would be we're left over with?
No, 2 different development charges. One's the county
Okay.
development charge that we take, and the other one's the township development charge. So the township development charge, the 10,491.46 is what we keep that. Goes towards our development charges.
Okay, and then the same with the building permit fees and the plumbing fees.
The building permit fees go to us. So all building revenue permit fees go to the building department. The plumbing fees, we collect them on behalf of the county as well, through our agreement with the county. And then we send them, they invoice us quarterly, and we send that fee back to them because they look after plumbing permit inspections for us.
Okay, just to, for the, I see it's only for the planning. Will we be getting another report on the bylaw part of it for you?
I believe it's coming into closed session today, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Through your Mayor Logo, could you refresh my memory, Daryl, on what page 3 of your report is?
So page 3 is just a breakdown of how many we issue per month,
How many what?
building permits.
Okay, thank you.
So in January, we issued 4 total building permits. In February, we issued 6. I believe that's the page you're on.
Good point, Deputy Mayor. It probably wouldn't hurt you to put that on the top of that, so we do know what it is, Daryl. Good,
Yeah, I could add some clarification on that. Yeah.
thank you. Go ahead, Councilor O'Neill.
This isn't with this report directly, but indirectly, you're out driving around the roads and you see something being built without a permit. What happens then, Darren?
We do stop, we do make note of it. And a person that builds without a permit, they're subject to double the permit fees if we go through the steps of them requiring a permit. We don't always see it. I mean, sometimes we get a complaint about it and then we do an investigation on it as well.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions, comments? I'll read the resolution. Be it resolved that Council of the Township of Elmwood, Culverman receive and file the report from Daryl Hall, CBO, MEDO, Planning Assistant regarding the building permit summary for January and February. Can I get a move in a second for the report? Moved by Councilor Eastworth, seconded by Councilor Booth. Is there any further questions or discussions? All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you.
We'll move on to Public Works. And we have Council Report 9-1. Council Report from Brian McMillan, Manager of Public Works, Parks and Recreation, dated March 7, 2023, regarding the Public Works and Parks and Recreation Department update. Ryan, you there?
Yes, I am, Mayor Logo. Good afternoon, Mayor Logo, members of council. Yeah, you have the, my departmental update for the Public Works and Parks and Recreation before you. And this just highlights, activities and, work that's been done in the Public Works and Park and Recreation Department in the last, usually months since the last meeting. Depending in the report, I'll try to answer it in the Public Works section. Jennifer Steen is also part of this report too, as well as some of the rentals now as well. So we're both here if you have any questions. Sorry.
Thank you. Any questions regarding Public Works? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
I'm just through your Mayor Logo. Brian, are we doing patching of hard top roads in the winter?
So through your Mayor Logo, yes, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, we're continuously, when we can, this is a big time, the springtime, usually February, March and April, with the water temperature, with water and the frost, the melting and that, we get a lot of potholes. So yeah, we were patching, last week, for example. We'll actually be patching in tomorrow.
Thank you.
Councilor Ainsworth?
Through you, Mayor Logo. Brian, first of all, I want to comment on your report. It's much better, and certainly a move in the right direction. And I I want to thank you for answering all those 40 complaints, and getting back to the residents and helping them and work with them, make them feel more comfortable that things are getting done. And then the other thing that I want to comment, and I already commented on it once today, is you putting in the near misses, because I think that's one of the first big steps to getting underneath the Occupational Health and Safety Act, is something as small as near misses, where a lot of people just kind of shrug it off. It's a very big part of safety for the department. So good stuff. Thanks.
Further questions or comments? Oh, go ahead, Councilor O'Neill.
Sorry, this may be to our program coordinator, Jennifer. We have on here that Fenella Hall has been selected for the Ontario Festival of Small Halls for October 13th to 15th. I'm assuming this was something coming forward from the last council, but it's also an interesting thing because we've got discussion of Fenella Hall coming up this year and how to use it or repurpose it. So I'm just wondering if you could give me some more information, please.
Sure, through you, Mayor Logo. The Ontario Festival of Small Halls is an annual festival. I don't have all of the information in front of me about how long they've been in place, but this is the first year that they're extending the festival to the Peterborough, Northumberland region. So it just reached out to me probably almost, coming up on a year ago, about what halls we had in the area, and they did tours of all of the facilities and came back with an interest in the Fenella Hall based on its size. So it has certain requirements about how big the hall needs to be for how many tickets they sell. And then the Festival of Small Halls board makes the decision, takes all that information in, right, and makes a decision on where they will be hosting for this year. And Fenella was chosen as one of the halls for this year. So I have it on there because it's exciting news, and it'll be a fun weekend. And it's usually pretty big Canadian acts that they bring in to perform at small halls throughout Ontario. So don't have any more information, but once I get more information on obviously who will be performing and all of that, we're just currently working with that staff members from that festival organization. And I'll also be going to the Rec and Culture and Community Development Committee because a part of this is they like to do things in the community as well throughout that weekend. So often it includes a community dinner or some other type of event that goes along with the concert.
That's your question? Thank you very much for asking that, Mary Catherine. I was gonna ask you too, because I wasn't familiar with all of it. You familiar with that?
Through your worship, yes, Jennifer has kept me up to speed on it.
You? Ryan, you have your hand up?
Yeah, just back to, I just wanted to mention though, that the Public Works Department now, with the addition of our administrative assistant, Susan in her office, it's made a huge difference to the department, having her in our building, helping the Public Works and the Parks and Rec, and, future, she's gonna start working on some asset management. So, it's been, the Councillor Ainsworth talking about the inquiries, the complaints, and Susan's a lead on that. And, a lot of the stuff when it comes in, it comes either to myself or to my foreman or the lead hand and stuff like that. So, she's the start of the reason why this is all getting, after the residents quicker and stuff like that. So they're all getting called back. And anyways, and council did approve that last year, this position. So it is a great asset to the Public Works Department moving ahead in the future. So I just want to compliment her on all the work she did for us. So
Thank you. I've got a little bit off track here because the report's a little bit different, Brian. I think before they were split into two. And now we're going all of that. I would like to kind of separate them so we have Public Works first, and then we come back to, or we move on to the community involvement and that portion of it. So before we jump on any further, I'm going to ask the group in a second to get the report on the table. So moved by Councillor Ainsworth and second by Councillor O'Neill. We'll finish up the Public Works portion, and then we'll move on to the community portion. So thank you. Any further comments or questions on Public Works? Councillor Ainsworth?
Yeah, to you, Mayor Lobo. So I'm just wondering about the grand opening for the new building, the Parks Work. I wonder if we could set a date, because it's probably going to take some time to prepare for that. I know we're waiting for the parking lot to get done, but we know it's going to get done. So, could we just set a date to say May 27th, June 10th, whatever kind of thing?
Have you thought about that, Ryan?
yes, through you, Mayor Logo. Yes, Councillor Ainsworth, I am working on that right now. I'm just trying to get kind of not a rough date, but a pretty close date on the paving. I haven't been able to get that back yet. I think moving forward, it'd be if yours are already that I'd have it more back just for the first meeting in April, but it would be the opening I could see probably being not till late May or early June. It might be more early June by the time they get the paving might not get done till late April. It depends on when the asphalt plants open up. That's all. So I just haven't got that confirmed yet, but I will as soon as I can and let you know.
Okay, so you're tentatively looking somewhere on a Saturday, probably.
It can be whenever council would like, for the public to be there. Probably a Saturday would be better, I think, for people that are working.
And you're probably thinking of hot dogs and hamburgers, and I would think you're going to look for council to help you out on that.
Yeah, like I said, we can we'll come up with through you, Mayor Logo. Yeah, we'll come up with a plan, and I'll bring it to you and see if you like what we're planning and how we're doing it. And I'm open for suggestions.
Yeah, and I think Council Ainsworth brings up a good point. We'll get more things we get there. They have somebody to give it a fun. So we'll wait for your report on for the first meeting in April, looking towards the first or second week of June on Saturday.
June 10th, yeah.
What
Okay.
June 9th or 10th
June 9th or 10th.
would be a Saturday or Sunday, wouldn't it?
No, it's gotta be a Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah, so the 9th
Within the 9th
is my,
or the second. Okay, well, let's not with you, Ryan, shoot for the 9th.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
The 10th. It's Saturday, the tenth.
Saturday's the 10th.
Saturday the tenth. Okay, Saturday the tenth, Ryan, and I would like to jump in here for a second too and compliment you on the details, some of the details that you're providing with us. We have a much better idea of what you're doing. And to continue on with that a little bit, I would like to talk, first of all, a little bit about sidewalks and cleaning. I signed some checks there this week, and I was maybe surprised, maybe I shouldn't have been, but for $17,000, we had one area of the township charge for $17,000 for the time period between January 10th and January 30th. So 2.5 weeks roughly, and that was $17,000. I don't recall that being a particularly bad time of year as compared to what you went through last weekend, as well as what you went through on December the 24th. I think. So I was surprised to see it that much, and if I don't know for sure because I only see the one bill, but I was assuming that the other bill probably could be in that neighborhood too, of $30,000 to $35,000. I know the budget is $49,000, I believe, for the year, and so I have some concerns, and I don't know what the answer is. I was surprised to see, for example, that we were paying $276,000, pardon me, $276 for what I understand is the ACC and Roseneath cleaning of the sidewalks. And I was surprised to see that they would be that high, and that's for each time. So, and I believe over that time period, there was 10 times that they were done. So that was expensive. So, and I know it's a probably a big thing, but I would like you to look, if council will give me the, or endorse that, ask you to take a look and see if there's some different ways that we could do that service for 2023, 2024. And I certainly don't know what the answers are. I would hope that we're doing an RFP or an RFQ, so different people get to vote on that, but maybe that's not the right way to do it. So I asked you to look at that, and if you could have something back to us for July or August, I think that would be a good. So if council wanted to move that, I would. Okay, so I should do that first. Okay. So before I can put that, or ask someone to make a motion, I'll put the motion on the floor regarding the report. So we can move this. Okay, Councilor Eastwood, Councilor O'Neill, made a motion to approve your report, so I'll ask for a vote. Mover and seconder, pardon me, got that? All in favor of that motion? Motion's carried. And the second, can I get that? So I'm concerned about that $17,000, and I don't know what it's expecting, but I think we should be looking at that for the deal. So someone would move and second that. I would appreciate it by Councilor Booth, seconded by Councilor Ainsworth. Is there any further discussion? Would you like to discuss that a little further? Go ahead, Councilor
Just
Booth.
through you, your worship. So I guess, Brian, if you could give us a report to say, maybe even maps too, that show us exactly what they're cleaning, who's cleaning it, and if there's an RFP, and like the mayor said, every time they get called out, how much a cleaning is, and then we can take a look at it from them. So I'd like to see visually what exactly, what sidewalks they're cleaning. I can't envision them up at Roseneath. Is it on 24? And is there anything on the, we don't do anything on 45, right? There's no sidewalks on 45? Okay.
And I don't think there's any vanilla other than the vanilla hall, just the walkway along the hall.
And a question, while I'm still there, Brian, do we pay for a person to do Fenella and Centerton in that, or is that Tim that does those buildings and Vernonville?
Yep, through you, Mayor Logo. Yeah, Tim looks after those, building Counselor Booth. And, the two contractors, one looks after Grafton and the one that's in the north looks after the Olmec Center and, yeah, the ones that you just mentioned and stuff. But, the plan was, I think we talked about budget time was moving forward, for next year's contract was to put an RFP out. There's different options, we contract out like we're currently doing. You can do it in-house, which I've been used to before in other municipalities. But sidewalks, are a huge liability for municipalities. Keeping them free and clear, of snow and ice, the slip and fall lawsuits. The insurance for these contractors is very high as well. So again, going out, we'll get our best competitive price and then an option. Well, a full report, I guess what I'm saying is, moving forward on sidewalks and stuff like that with maps on what they're doing. But, they're one of the bigger liability issues, for municipalities and sidewalks all across the province. I can tell you that.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councilor Leo.
And so going back to when I was the co-chair at Centerton, so this was an issue we had to deal with. And when we looked into pricing and different options, we ended up purchasing a snow blower that's kept in the little shed there. And then, our handy person goes and uses that. And I'd be interested to know what that cost is and whether that's an option at other facilities, if that makes sense. And he didn't want one that he could unload and load on trucks just because that was harder on his body. So anyway, that's why we purchased one that is kept there.
Go ahead, Councilor Booth.
So clarification, Brian, when you talk about sidewalks, like I'm thinking of the ones down here and that, if it's sidewalks in front of somebody's house, is that what we're doing? Like on, you said, what was it?
24.
On 24? Isn't that sidewalk in front of houses? So why, I mean, the last municipality I looked at had a sidewalk and it said we're responsible within 24 hours of cleaning our sidewalk, or that we were liable for a fine. Is it different here? Like I could see if it was a sidewalk where, maybe here at Grafton, I'm thinking where the sidewalk's near the Esso there and it's sort of nobody's property and it's sort of left to, but is it required, Brian, that we're cleaning sidewalks in front of somebody's house?
Yes, through you, Mayor Logo. Yes, Councilor Booth. It is for this municipality. Some municipalities do have that you are responsible for shoveling, snow and clearing snow off in front of your property. You have such a period of time to do so. And if you're not, you're billed for it, or the municipality brings in a contractor to do it. You see that in more larger centers, but you still see a lot of centers, the municipalities, looking after sidewalks with their own equipment, really, in most places.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll discuss that because
Does that
I
answer
kind
your
of think.
question? Or-
Yeah, thank you. It does.
Yeah,
I'm just
sorry.
concerned that when we do discuss this, maybe in a month or two, like you said, Mayor, that my opinion would be if it's in front of a residential thing, I don't see why we would be hiring a contractor to go out there and do a strip of sidewalk when you're doing your driveway and the sidewalks on your side, but that's just my opinion. Okay, thank you.
Through you, Mayor Logo. I guess, Councilor Booth, in that report too, I can survey around to and show you other municipalities in the area, how they're doing it, whether they're using their own municipal equipment, a contract, or if they have a policy in place that the homeowner is responsible for any frontage of sidewalks on their property, and that'll kind of give you a better idea of what's going on in the area.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
I think that's a good idea. I can recall that the township has been responsible for, pardon me, not responsible. I think that was back, has cleaned the sidewalks in Grafton for a long time. Would you say?
Yeah, through your worship, yes, we've always done the Grafton sidewalks. However, we've just started doing Roseneath, I'd say probably about 5-6 years. When I first came here in 2012, they took care of their own sidewalks, all the residents, and yeah, so It's just changed. I believe they have always been some sidewalks in Rosneath. Oh, when they did the road construction, sorry. Yeah, they redid the road, yes. And so it was right around that time, yes.
They probably needed it.
Yeah.
Counselor Booth.
So I guess one more issue then for you, Brian, is I know in other municipalities, they had a student that's all their job was in the summertime is they went around and walked the entire township with the sidewalks and they measure to see when the concrete is heaved in that, and if it's a certain, you would know, Brian, what it is. If it's 1 inch or 2 inch, they actually had to spray it. And the township was responsible for grinding down in that. Are we doing that if we're accepting responsibility of plowing them, or are we also doing the yearly inspection on them too?
Through you, Mayor Logo, yes, Councilor Booth, we currently are doing that. And again, that falls under your maintenance standards. So again, back to the winter maintenance, sidewalks is a huge liability for the townships and municipalities, but as well, trip hazards like what you're saying. So we are around and measuring them. Some of them can be used a big, large grinder to grind down those lips and stuff like that. But yeah, we are currently doing that as well.
Thank you.
Counselor O'Neill?
Starting with a good news story, saw several people using the new walking track there, including someone on a wheelchair. And it was a different person I saw one day, and they were using the road rather than the sidewalk. And I'm assuming it's because our sidewalks maybe need some TLC. So I know that came up also in planning, talking about sidewalks, but I think with regard to the strategic plan in this discussion, we're getting older here. The average age has increased in the last little bit, and I think that's going to, have to be a factor when we're looking at what happens here. And the other is the number of seasonal people who aren't even around when the snow falls, but that's their property. So it's an interesting, there's a lot of layers to the discussion.
I'll tell you something that's really interesting. You ever seen that show, or pardon me, it's an advertisement, when there's snow falling, and the one guy's pushing his snow blower and he's blowing it all to the left. Then he closes his shirt, puts his snow blower in, puts it in the shop, and then the next guy comes out and blows it all, he blows it back onto the other guy's property. Down here between the Grafton pharmacy and here, if the blower comes, or pardon me, if the snowplow comes along and is going east, he pushes all the snow onto the sidewalk, because it's only about this much distance. And an hour later, our fellow comes down with it and does it with the little sidewalk to clean off the sidewalk. And they go back and forth like this 3 or 4 times a day. And it's and what else can they do with this? It's frustrating to see that.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
Through you, Mayor Lowell. So this is where lean management comes in, John. Anyways, for Brian, I got a couple of questions asked to me at the poker run on the snowmobile for the snowmobile club this weekend about plowing the roads. I know we have safety first when it comes to the roads and stuff, but up along Beagle Club and Beaumonton and before we got this last snowfall, it looked like the trail had been good all year, and then all of a sudden another plow operator went down through, and they were shoving the snow back off Beagle Club Road, pretty much took up spots of half of the trail going down the side of Beagle Club, and then they wiped it right out where you come around onto the 45. So I just don't know if we can work together with the snowmobile club and maybe talk about a few of those spots where we can, because we only get like an 8-week season with them, and so they can keep the trail safe also.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Logo. Yes, Councilor Ainsworth, we'll do our best. I know it's kind of a tricky thing to do, but like you said earlier, I know the main priority for the roads department is keep the roads free and clear of snow and ice, shoulder to shoulder. But in saying that, there is areas where we can try to do the best we can to leave some snow or a little bit of the trail or even some shelving with our wing when we're by later on to leave them snow that the groomer can, keep the snow for the trail. So we'll do our best. And actually a couple of our operators are snowmobilers, and one that does that is a snowmobiler as well. So I know he does take that into consideration a lot. So anyways, we'll do our best to look out for the township's needs of keeping the road safe and clear, but as well as thinking of our recreational snowmobilers users as well.
Yeah, this year's pretty much a done deal, but maybe next year we can start early and I can maybe put together a meeting with yourself and the president of the snowmobile club and just kind of go over a few different things and where we can work together. Thanks.
Sure. Yep.
I've got one other thing coming up, Brian, that I'd like to get your thoughts on this, and that is, she heard the motion. All in favor? Motion is carried. Okay, I have another one. Should I take the motion?
Tell us what it is first.
Oh, don't keep us in suspense.
I see in your report, you have received 14 inquiries regarding winter maintenance and plowing. And I've received some of those questions, complaints, wondering how we can do a better job for looking after our customers. And I think it particularly deals with not so much the regular hours where your people work, because I think they do a tremendous job of getting on the job as soon as they can in the morning. Sometimes as early as 5 o'clock, and continue to do their routes until they're, have done their work. Is it 14 hours? 12 or 14 hours, what they're allowed to do in a typical day, but I don't know what we can do, but the snow keeps coming on hours that doesn't work for us. And I don't think we can really change those hours of getting that snow, so that it coincides with whether people are working. So Mike. So I don't know, Brian, I know that it's difficult for you to do anything better than you are currently doing. But I'm getting, and I don't know if other people are getting, requests to provide more service, longer periods of time, so that when people want to get to work in the morning, and I think we've got that pretty well covered, when they come in at 5 o'clock, but some of them are having difficulty getting home at nights or going into work at an 11 o'clock shift and that type of stuff. And I know that we've never done that before. I talked to Troy, and I don't know of any other townships that are providing quite that service of more than 12 hours a day. Although I do understand that they have some spotters and that type of stuff. And I guess, I don't, people sometimes expect the mayor to make those decisions, but I can't make those decisions. That's really a council decision if we have to go and provide our service and currently what we're doing. So I guess what I was hoping that you would be able to do is kind of give us an idea of how we could better service for the months of when it's snowing, like December, January, February. So I don't know if you've got a comment on that, Brian, or should I open it up to council first? Maybe I should open it up to council first. You're happy.
I mean, this really comes back to what are we willing to pay for? And we have to throw it out back to the general public. Okay, you want 2 shifts? Excellent. Pay us double for it. And I bet there'll be a whole bunch of people who think they can make do. But, I think we have to put it that way.
Okay. Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Local. It kind of brings up a good point here. I don't know the inner workings of the Works Department. Are they only allowed to be on the road 12 hours a day plowing, or can they stagger it? I have no idea. So I think it gets back to how Brian schedules people and what is the norm. Does that need to be looked at? Has that been looked at, or is Brian working on a standard that's general, or is this a time to maybe look at a staggered time to, you know, 6 to 10 or something like that? That would bring in the 11 o'clock people. Is it really encompassing a lot of people that can't get to work? I don't know.
My understanding, it doesn't fall, few people will be getting to work.
Hmm.
And I, not knowing the north as well as I do the south, but I believe there's some, there's our places where snow really gets bad, particularly the wind. The wind is.
Yeah, the wind.
Issue is anything. And to answer your question, I should have told you, but there is a limit of how many hours you can operate a truck. And if you go over that, the only way you can do that is to apply for a special permit, I believe it is.
Brian should be able,
Yeah.
he'll be able to
Right?
answer.
Can you explain that to us?
Through you, Mayor Logo, yes, Deputy Mayor, township only called them into operates, some are pretty much the same as the rest of the rural municipalities in the county. They do have the one shift, and the normal hours of operation are, you know, generally from 5 in the morning till, you know, 6 at night. When we do have a shift or when we gotta plow snow, we do need all of our operators out there. So, you know, we do have the 9 routes with tandems, 2 with pickup trucks. So when we do get a snowfall, we need every one of those persons, no matter how little it is, out at that same time. So we are meeting our maintenance standards. The townships did that for years here and stuff like that. Is there room for improvement? I guess there always is, you know, look at our level of service and see if there's areas that we can improve on. But with the hours of work and all that, and the guys driving in trucks, we have to run a 14-day cycle here. And I try to manage the staff right, like make sure they get a day off when they can, because they do need a full rest period, 24-hour rest periods when they go for so many days. So it's tricky in the wintertime. Like I said, it's you don't know, you can't schedule people off. The weather is very unpredictable. You don't know what you're going to get. There's 3 different weather patterns, sometimes 4 different weather patterns in the township. So it's very tricky. But like I said, for the size of the township, the amount of kilometers of roads we have, we do get very little, at least what I've seen here the last couple of years, very few complaints, you know, about snow plowing, unless council's getting more that I'm not seeing. But usually it's when we get those huge significant weather events, the heavy snow, like on Saturday, for example. We had anywhere from 8 inches to 14 inches of snow all throughout the municipality. That was very heavy. It come down, the majority of it between 10:30, 11 o'clock on Friday night. And most of it was done by, you know, 5 o'clock Saturday morning. So staff were in shortly after 5, and we're on the roads till approximately 4:30, 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. And then back home resting. They actually were all back in Sunday and had to do a light sanding on Sunday. So, you know, and then they're back in here on Monday and Tuesday, and I'm working all week again. So it is a balancing act to, you know, watch their hours of work and make sure they do get the proper rest. Again, we are, anyways, like I said, in general, I think we're doing a really good job with the winter maintenance. There are complaints, but again, there's very few that we get that I think they're of a real concern to me anyways.
Through you, Mayor Logo. So also, I think like lots of good ideas, but you know, you certainly have to look at the Labor Act when you're starting to change people's shifts, like notification time. I don't know if we have a policy or procedure on changing people's shifts and stuff, or do we have calling people that could cover some of this stuff? So lots of good ideas and things to look at to try to make that happen. Sure.
Go ahead.
Through you, your worship. I know we looked at this before and Troy, you can comment too if you want, is the issue that we have here is we have 9 routes and that's all of our staff. So I know, Troy, you looked at it in the past to try and stagger shifts in that, but it doesn't work because if you've got a minimum staff of 9 people, if you only send 5 of them out there, then that means 4 routes aren't being done. And they won't get done until the afternoon shift comes in. So I go back to what Councillor Mary Catherine said. It's a case of if you want to spend more money, they're going to have to hire more staff or have people on call to do it. And I look at other communities now where they're complaining about the windrows. That'll be next, that people will want to say, why do I have to go out there and plow the windrow at the bottom of my, well, that's a cost too. You know, that's millions of dollars for some municipalities to have a special plow that goes out there so that you don't have to. So I do want to make a comment, Brian, and my apologies to you, because I know I sent in a complaint form on Saturday to you, but you got back to me that day. Thank you. Is I guess sometimes we're the victim of our own quality job that we do, because on my street, usually by 7 o'clock, the plow has gone down and by 7:30, he's back up. I got complaints at 9 o'clock, 9:30. What's going on? My street's not plowed. So when I contacted Troy and through you, Brian, you explained that one of the plows got stuck. So our plow guy had to go there to pull them out. I phoned the citizens and told them what happened and they were fine. And by 10:30, you know, our street was done. So I guess sometimes it's just one of those things that it's, oh, the guy's usually here by now. Why isn't he? And stuff happens, right? So, but I agree with you, Mary Catherine. If you want that service, then we're going to have to pay for it, right?
I want to concur with what you were saying, Brian, that overall I do hear good things. There was one day where the plows, you know, there can be incidents that are problems, but I don't see any overall problems. I think we need to send out a good news story. We have cleared this many roads this season. You know, these are our sort of parameters of practice. And the other thing is, earlier this morning, we were looking and 33% of the people living here were not living here 5 years ago. And many of them are moving out of more urban areas. Anyway, we do have an education component to this because we have new people.
Yeah, through your worship, and excuse me, and something I want to tidy up that will help out Brian and maybe some of the phone calls is something that Councillor O'Neill's always talked about is communication. So right now we just basically have one person on staff that, you know, will communicate through Facebook and our website and stuff, and in discussions with the clerk just over the last couple of days. We want to get a few people that can be available and stuff to help out Brian during the storms, to communicate, put it on Facebook, our website. So we're not relying just on one person. So we have a few of us that have the capabilities of doing that. I think that would help out an awful lot. You know, if Brian, like we said, we have 9 guys, 9 routes, something happens to a truck, you know, we're down, it's going to be delayed. Then we can convey that message on Facebook or whatever. And I think that would help out. So that's what we're hoping to do we will do for the 2023-24 season, and maybe even earlier, just in case we have any other, you know, major windstorms or whatever. So communication, we need to be better, and that's on me, and I'll make that happen.
I don't think we ever answered. Did we ever answer John's question about what we have to use as far as operations?
Brian, how many hours can the guys drive in one day?
Well, it all depends on the cycle and stuff. I don't have it right in front of me right now, but we're on the 14-day, we're on the 2-week cycle and stuff. So it's the rest periods, the big part, making sure they're having their breaks or lunch break. I believe it's 12 hours, I believe, Troy, I think, right off the top of my head, I believe.
Yeah, I thought it was 13. So like Brian said, you know, 14 days. So if it snowed for 14 days, they can work 13 hours every day. But regardless of what happens on that 15th day, they're off. They cannot work. So that's why it's all about watching the weather management, and just trying to so sometimes the guys are off on a Wednesday knowing that it's going to be snowing, you know, right straight through the weekend and into next week. So but basically that's what it is. The guys work 14 days max. And I believe it's 13 hours per day, 12, 13 hours per day.
And what I was thinking about, showing as much as anything, was that I don't know if we ever had.
Can't hear
We talked about it. Certainly in Hamilton Township, 4 or 5 years ago, they had to get a special permit from the province, do you call that?
When you get that, if we were to declare like a storm, then Brian does not have to go by the rules from the ministry for driving or whatever. So but we have to declare it, I believe. We have to declare a storm or storm management or significant weather. There you go. Thank you, clerk.
Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Logal, to Brian, I guess it gets down to that. That is one piece of the pie. The other part is, Brian, you know the routes better than any of us here. And if some routes could be staggered, if you've got 9 guys coming in to do 9 routes, I mean, you have to work at organizing everything, especially when you've got routes. So I guess as far as staggered shifts, that wouldn't be a go, unless you can think of some areas where that would work. And I just leave that up to you to investigate that.
I tend to agree with you, Stephanie. And Councilor Booth, that if you got 9 trucks, you can only have 9 people on them. But I think you have to look at the possibility of when those trucks are not running, that if you have more people, some people there to help during, whether they be part-time or whatever.
But then that gets into financial.
So, I don't know, I just want to make sure that everybody in council is aware of some of the issues that we face, and I don't know, Brian, whether you could think about it and maybe talk with Troy and see if there's any other possibilities.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Logal, again, we'll do if there's anywhere we can improve, and I know some areas have been brought to our attention that will, higher volume areas at certain times. So, they are on our list, and we are trying to, look after the residents in certain areas as best we can within our maintenance standards and our hours of work as well. So we'll do our best and to try to, improve anything we can.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions regarding the public works? Okay, Ryan, we can move on to the second portion of the business, and should we have a special move in a second or motion to receive that one as well? Okay, so if you've got, go ahead and explain it, and before we start asking questions, I'll ask for a motion. Go ahead, Ryan, or Jennifer, who's ever going to handle it.
You can ask.
Okay, you'll ask the motion then now. Moved by.
Sorry, I didn't.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover and seconded by Councilor O'Neill. Okay, you have the floor, Brian or Jennifer, who's ever going to handle it.
Sorry,
Thank
Mayor.
you, through you,
Mayor
Mayor
Logan,
Logal.
would you?
Sorry. I'm
ahead,
happy to
Jennifer.
answer any questions. I'm happy to answer questions on that section of the report. I did just want to clarify something from the earlier conversation about the Ontario Festival of Small Halls, is that they did come to us just as any rental would. So they are paying a rental fee to use the hall, and it is that organization that's putting on this event. So I just did want to clarify that.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions regarding this portion of the report? Go ahead, Mike.
Through you, Mayor Logal. Jennifer, can you explain that that group that's coming in? Like who they are, what it's about?
The Ontario.
Broken up.
Sure, through you, Mayor Logal. I can get more information, or you can find information online too about the Ontario Festival of Small Halls. It's an organization that puts on Canadian concerts, so Canadian music acts across small venues throughout Ontario. Typically, they've been in the eastern portion of Ontario, so Ottawa is where the festival started. They're expanding this year to the Peterborough, Northumberland County area for the first time, and they were looking at various halls that fit within their criteria and have selected Fenella Hall as one of the halls for these concerts to take place. So the concert would happen on the Sunday, and typically they have events leading up to it, like a community dinner or things like that. So they do look for volunteers in the community as well to help promote and help volunteer put on these other auxiliary events, I'll call them.
Also, thanks, Jennifer. So also I'm looking at the total rental hours, total program hours. There are 191 hours. So do we base our hours, like say from 9 in the morning till 10 at night, say with the arena, and then maybe a different time with the halls, maybe not? So if we, and I just kind of use it as a figure, so that would be about 648 hours a month, and we're running them about a third capacity if I use them hours. So in saying that, like even with our Parks and Rec Culture group, if we could be a little more proactive at maybe trying to fill those hours, or is just like a again, like we explained before, we're just kind of waiting for people to knock on the door, or can we be more proactive to get things out that we have these places available?
Through you, Mayor Logo. So yes, the hours that you do see are the total hours that have been booked. I guess it didn't include that in this report. I believe in a previous report I did have, I believe it was Councillor Booth who asked for kind of a percentage on the amount of hours available. So the halls are a bit different. They could be, because they aren't staffed, so the availability could really be, any time. Whereas the arena, it's staffed from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. So those are the hours there that programming and rentals happen. So if you'd like to see going forward, I can put in that those numbers about how many hours were booked versus how many were available in the reports. And as to promoting, yeah, we can always do, a better job at getting the word out there of what our halls have to offer. I do always put it out on the in the rec guide that goes out every 6 weeks about that there is hall availability. We do have it on our electronic signs, but yeah, it's always good to get the word out there and get them used more. So any promotion is a good promotion for that. We did have at the end of last year, we did have new photos and promotional videos taken of each hall. So it has been on my list of things to do, is really promote, get a little campaign out that really on our social media and our websites that just show that, because they do. They are very nice videos and photos, and they do show well. So just getting that out there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments regarding this report? Well, seeing none, we've had.
You have a mover and seconder.
We do have a mover and seconder. All in favor of the report? Motion's carried. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Jennifer.
John,
Yes.
can I just make one more comment through you, Mayor Logo?
Sure.
Like when I see this, I don't see anything on the financial impact. Seems to me like there should be something there.
I don't know, Jennifer, do you keep track of that or how is that done?
No, let's see what Jennifer's doing.
I guess that would come through you, Mayor Logal, through the financial reports that the treasurer puts forth. I don't include the total, the monthly totals that are of revenue for programming or rentals, in my reports. I guess I could going forward if council would like to see the total revenue for those total numbers for that month.
Well, cost versus revenue would be nice to see.
Yeah, I don't know if you could do it at cost because your costs jump up and down. Oh, go ahead, Troy.
Through your worship, I'll speak with, when our treasurer is back. I'll speak with her and just see how she can maybe provide maybe a monthly report on some of these things. So you're up to speed on, not just, programs, but maybe all the community centers and stuff where we generate some revenue. So yeah, I'll, if we can wait till our treasurer's back, I'll speak with her and I can have that part of her report.
Yep, great. And this would fall right into our strategic plan.
That's
Would give us some good information for that, looking forward.
Okay.
We're on the next one,
Okay,
number 10.
then we're on to
Number 10.
number 10. Okay, Parks and Recreation Development, 10-1, we have a council report from Jennifer Steen, Parks, Recreation and Cultural Coordinator, dated March 7th, regarding the parks. Recreation and Culture and Committee Development Advisory Committee updates and their terms of reference. Can I get mover and seconder for this? Moved by Councilor Ainsworth, seconded by Councilor O'Neill. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Logal. So this council asks that we revise the terms of reference for the Parks, Rec and Culture Advisory Committee. I met with councillors Ainsworth and O'Neill to go over the terms of reference on 2 occasions, and then it was brought forth to the committee on February 13th. Those changes were implemented in the draft terms of reference that you see before you today. So happy to answer any questions or clarify anything within that report.
Councilor Ainsworth.
Through you, Mayor Logal. So Jennifer, when we elected our chair, they only wanted to do it for 2 years. And the term of reference says that it's for the term of council. So we should probably look at that, or is that something that we come back to our group with and say, we have to follow the terms of reference?
Through you, Mayor Logal, I'd ask Clerk Kemp for clarification on that, if it's something that's in the procedural bylaw or if that can be changed within the terms of reference for the committee.
So I believe the term or the procedure bylaw states that the committees are for the term of council. It doesn't specify how long the chairperson. So if you want to amend your terms of reference and have it for a 2-year term, then that would be fine.
Did you catch that? Jennifer, you catch that?
Yes, thank you for that clarification.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
so maybe that's something we can address at our next meeting also.
Well, through you, Mayor Logal, if council would like to make that change, I believe it could be changed today.
I'm just wondering, Clerk Kemp, since it's actually silent in our terms of reference, if we can do that and not bind future committees to that. Is that, if it's silent, we can do that?
Yes.
And we wouldn't need, okay. That's my preference.
Okay, you probably wouldn't hurt, in my opinion, if you're gonna go with that too, after the 2 years that person steps down, council should be made aware of that and probably prove that that's what happened.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Anything else?
No, that's great.
Go ahead, Councilor Booth.
Just through you, your worship, to Councillor Ainsworth's point about financial stuff and that, it says in here that quarterly, this group will be reviewing financial documents and stuff like that, which means it'll be March, right? Hopefully you'll be able to take a look at, very interested in like the community halls. You know, what kind of revenue we're bringing in there compared to, like you said, Councillor Mike, what it's costing us to, you know, to heat the bill, just if it's just the regular bills to heat the building and hydro and stuff like that, and what programs we're offering in there. So hopefully you'll be able to review those and get back to us.
So Councillor Booth made one of the things that I wanted to draw council's attention to, because this wasn't in the previous one. But we all felt it was a good step forward to have those eyes and to get that public input on a quarterly basis. I think it's important that council really pays attention to the 4 principles that we put at the top, because those are the things that we feel we're going to come back to regularly, and of interest might be that it says the community across age. So the next focus of our the focus of our next meeting is actually on seniors. So that's one of the age demographics. So I think that we're going to see these coming back as what's driving the committee. So it's important that you understand what we are directing the committee to do, and they were happy with that. And the community hubs part, that is drawing in some of the community development things. And we already have been starting to throw around some ideas related to a seniors fair, similar to the one that's being hosted shortly at the Y. So, and again, the committee was warm to that and enthused by that. So.
Did the committee talk about Canada Day?
No, that I was going to open immediately, because I think that we need a fulsome discussion of that, Mayor Logo.
Thank you. Well, we can talk about that. Any further comments or any comments, Jennifer?
Through you, Mayor Logo, thank you. I did also just want to note that in this terms of reference, which is new to the committee, we are seeking a youth representative between the ages of 13 and 21. I just wanted to bring that to council's attention.
I think that's great.
That's
Is
good
it,
idea.
is it okay just to have one, because that person,
Sorry, we've got 1 or 2.
1 or 2, I think that would be a benefit to have a second, because it might be intimidating. Certainly, I would be.
So Jen, are you looking at posting that on the website, or how are we getting that out there to the kids to find out that they can apply for this? I wouldn't
through
think that
you.
teenagers usually go on the town website to troll stuff on there unless it's for jobs. I don't think it's not if you get it on TikTok or whatever, you can get it on, they'll see it 1,000 times, but yeah. So are we going to put it on the website or something, Jen, so we can get it out there, or maybe send it out to the schools?
Yeah. Through you, Mayor Logo. Yes, Councillor Booth. So if council approves and adopts the terms of reference, then I'd work with the clerk, I think, to put out a posting that we're looking for a youth representative, and then we would try to reach them. So yes, send it out to the schools, libraries, anywhere that we can, where we think that the youth community would see them and apply for it. So.
Thank you, Jennifer. Further comments, questions? All in favor? Gary, congratulations, Jennifer. Keep working with that group. You got some good counselors on there, and I'm sure you have some good people on there as well. And we encourage you to continue on.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to item 11 next.
Sorry, before we move on, because it's not directly on here, so I don't know if we can talk about it, but Canada Day. I have had people starting to contact me and reach out, and people wanting the parade back. And I know that Jennifer Steen has an interesting idea of a parade on the little new walkway, but people are saying they're not keen on that idea when I throw it their way. So anyway, just getting a sense of where council is and how we want to proceed with the Canada Day thing. I think that Jennifer walked into a vacuum and sort of had it punked on her desk, but because the previous council wasn't wanting to take a leadership role on that, but I'm wondering, and personally I'd be willing to be part of it, to council again take back a stronger role in organizing that.
I'd agree with that.
I, go ahead.
No, you go ahead now.
Okay. I know it's a big challenge to put it on. It's a big job. And I did hear some comments that weren't 100% positive the last year or two, that we couldn't do a better job. And was simple stuff like making sure there's more chairs and people want to sit at the donations and not having a parade, and you know, and the size of the crowd like that as well. And I think it's a good opportunity for people to get together. And there's nothing more that they like than to show them old tractors off and have a hot dog and the kids running around, and you have spend a few bucks and bring in a slot or a jumpy thing or something like that. It's good for it's good for the families too. And we haven't talked about it yet, but the awards that the township normally passes out for the senior of the year, or the biggest contributor, or this, that's where we've always did that. And I think it's good to continue to do that. And it is a big job, but I think that group is probably as good as you're gonna. If they're encouraged to do it and become part of it, that's what we expect. I'm hoping they're going to take that to task. And council's always helped out in the past, and I'm sure we would again. But I think it's really important that it come from the board rather than council, which it was for several years. More grassroots into the people that are there. Whatever.
Through you, your worship, I guess I would rely on Councillor Ainsworth and Councillor O'Neill to tell us, I mean, does the Parks and Rec Committee want to run that, or do you want to do an ad hoc committee where it's just a group of people that put their names in for that? Because historically, I think on last council, money was just given to I can't remember the fund, it's Jen Keller and Dave run it, and they sort of ran it, and we gave them money for a gift basket and everything, and it was sort of done, like the mayor said, it's a lot of work, and I guess council over the years was like, well, we're not getting involved in it, but I'd gladly volunteer for that, but I don't know whether you're suggesting an ad hoc committee. I'm sure there's lots of people I heard from that used to run it years ago, like you said, John, when they had the parade and the tractors, they want that back, so.
Yes, we did have a little bit of a discussion, and Jennifer can add if she feels necessary, but it was that it was going to be an ad hoc committee that was specific to the Canada Day, and that it would be. So it'll have some of the members from that committee, but certainly draw in other volunteers. And I think what I'm trying to get some clarification here, if we draw in those volunteers, are we saying run wild volunteers, you're the lead on this and Jennifer is the support? Or is it the other way around, that Jennifer's the lead and the volunteers are her support? And my sense is, you know, the Heritage are excited to get a booth to show off their new book, Building a Community. So I'm like, well, could that be the theme, building a community, and do that, and then reach out to different groups where the Legion is definitely a group that's building the community, the schools are, and, you know, reach out in that ad hoc committee, say, go crazy, volunteers go crazy. That's maybe not the right term to say go crazy, but just, you've got a lot of room here, go ahead and do it. And I think that's what volunteers want to hear, that they've sort of got that thumbs up from here.
And thank you for bringing that up. I think about 3 or 4 years ago, we started having vendors inside. And I think it was popular at first, it was dribbles and drindles and people, I don't think most people like that, so. I'm glad you brought that up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think through you, Mayor Local, I think we kind of need to go back to what was working before. Certainly the parade up the street with the tractors. And really now's the time to get started. Like last week, it should have got started because when we were doing it before, it was January, December. So a lot of things should already be in play for it. So it's going to be a bit of a stretch to get it up and running for June, but I think if we start working on it now, I think we as council need to set parameters of what we want to see, as well as working with the ad hoc committee, because I'm with you. Once the vendors started to come in, it turned it into a whole different other ball game. People just kind of fizzled away. So I think it's going to have to come back where it's got a lot of energy, and the ad hoc committee should be providing the direction, but council should also be providing what way they think it should go, just so we keep it. We have a lot of the let's talk, we can have a let's talk, more communication, the different people that could get involved with this. So I think it kind of has to be, I don't know, is this something we could put on our next agenda item?
When is your next, when is your next meeting with this group? Or did they have to be involved?
Well, it was
They
going to be
should.
a subcommittee anyway, so
Mhm. I think it should
But
go
can't we
through
make
that.
a motion today to just say we agree, let's do an ad hoc committee, like you said, Deputy Stover,
Mhm.
we're already behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
Even if you were to start it this week, you're already like, can
Yeah.
council, instead of waiting for another meeting to say, let's go ahead, form an ad hoc committee. You guys, you and Mike are on the committee already. You can talk to some of them. And I mean, eventually, I'd be careful when we say how council wants it to go.
Yeah,
I'd be
right.
more saying how the ad hoc committee wants
Mhm,
it to go,
through
but
the ad hoc.
financially, they're gonna have to come to us if they're looking for money or that, and it has to be fiscally responsible. You can't go out there and say, we're gonna have airplane rides and everything else, and well, that's what I'm saying, and you can't come and say to the mayor, you want $10,000. So I mean, but I would let the people that are gonna volunteer for it tell us what, and I'm sure, like you said,
You get
Joan,
the
you're gonna
community
get the
back.
people from before saying they want it, what it was like years ago before.
Mhm. Okay, sounds good to me.
And just to clarify, as far as coming around that path, as compared to the street, I don't think you'd be able to get the street. I don't think you'd be able to close it.
You know what, I've heard both ways. I heard that it's possible to do it. We just have to find out if it's possible or not.
You want to find that?
Through your worship, yeah, I can reach out. Yeah, I can reach out and let them know if that is an option.
And if it's not an option, I don't have a problem.
but the tractors, would they not be a problem? Like we just said, we want antique tractors.
Well, traffic. But,
It's not wide enough.
No, but they tear up the asphalt, wouldn't they?
Well, if it's a really hot day, Brian might be able to help me out there. If it's a really hot day and, you got tractor tires on there, it may not be the greatest on that.
And not all tractors, those are
Yeah.
the tractors, not
No.
all of them have the rubber wheels.
No,
Yeah, well, those tractors, I haven't never seen that.
Yours need- oh, right. But
All
I
the ones
guess,
talking about-
I guess my other concern was, so we're talking about this street right here.
Yeah.
What stops us from putting it on our street? Nothing stops us from starting it in the school and, I don't know,
There's
run by the mayor's house and come back or something. and-
There's definitely options to stay within our own community on
Yeah.
our own street.
Just nice to be able to-
It would
Yeah,
be
to
nice,
end
but
up
I
with
mean,
the
and like you said, Joe, I don't know, maybe there's rules and regulations, but maybe we look outside the box and say, we'll do it down the street.
well, there was comments made that it is an option, so it would be nice to know if, you know, when it comes down, somebody puts their name on the paper that, yes, we can do it.
And storage, we'd like to have the fire truck in there and public works building, too, and paramedics and that cot might not be perfect for some of that type of stuff.
No.
But it sounds like we got 2 or 3 options.
Brian was on.
Yeah, he just texted me and said the pathway is really not ideal for tractors.
Okay.
So, yeah. But like we just talked about, there are options and throughout our own streets. So, yeah.
Through you, Mayor Lowell. So in the past, did anybody ever keep a checklist of things that they, and like the people that were in it, so the checks of like a things to do, and then like phone numbers of groups that were participating in the, go sure, make it a lot easier than starting to reinvent the wheel, but if not, we'll do that this time. So every year we can call these people up and say, hey, you know, instead of trying to find everything over and
There'd be a
over.
member of your committee that has all that information. So like of all the participants.
Our new
in
committee?
Past rates on your Parks and Rec.
To our new committee, like there's somebody on there that has that? Okay,
Back 10 or 12 years.
yeah,
But
Okay.
they would have a lot of contacts that all the participants from past parades
Yeah.
and stuff. So,
that's
and
what
I
we
can
need.
get that for you.
Perfect.
And what we recently,
But-
we have 37% new people who moved in the last 5 years.
And a perfect opportunity for us to show off. You know, our municipality, you know, because the fire department could put on an extrication demonstration. You know, we could have a car show down here at the Ball Diamonds and the old tractor show. You know, it could be a real nice show of, you know, for our municipality.
So I'd like to make a motion then that, I don't know how you want to write it, Pat, that council approve an ad hoc committee for the Canada Day festivity celebration for, I don't want to say what location either, because I don't know where for sure you're going to put it or whatever. I'll leave it up to the committee, but to form an ad hoc committee for the Canada Day celebrations.
Further discussion? Go ahead, Mike.
I wonder if we could, Councillor O'Neill and I call our committee and see if we could look after it ourselves.
It might be good for an ad.
And get instead of an ad hoc.
Well, the nice thing about an ad hoc committee is it's only there for the Canada Day thing. And I think, Mike, if you want to try and get back some of the older people that did it, and I'll use, for example, I think it's Diane Tollefson. I used to speak to her before, that she ran it years ago and had all kinds of ideas. She's not on your committee now, some of these old timers. So, I mean, I would leave it up to you and Mary Catherine to take it back to your meeting and say, listen, we're going to have it. Hopefully some of them will come and you'll grab some of the senior people that used to run it. But I'm willing to go,
Yeah.
if you think it's complete. I just don't think everybody on that committee is going to want to
Yeah,
commit to
no.
a Canada Day thing. It's a lot of work, right?
Good point.
I concur, and I think it's an opportunity for the volunteers who don't want to make a 4-year commitment, but want to help out with an event. And I think it'll be just an opportunity to include more people and different people.
Okay, good stuff.
So will we put, send the names out?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But if
So will we have them send, put something out asking for members or, okay.
I would think put it out on the website to ask, and then the more the merrier. If you get 20 people that want to be on an ad hoc committee for that, all the better, right? For volunteers.
we should probably discuss it.
We could put out a message on Let's Talk.
When's your next
27th, I
recreation
think,
meeting?
27th, March.
So maybe it might be courteous for you guys to just send them an email and say, just so you know, because we don't want to start in April or May and it's too late, we've given permission to start the ad hoc committee and we're going to be posting it out so that you're not surprised. And then you can talk about it at your next meeting on the 27th.
And as far as the awards, is that something separate?
Yes, so in the past, Mr. Mayor, the Jennifer has been responsible for taking care of that, so she can probably answer your question.
Is,
That's good to know. Jennifer, you still there?
Yes, I'm still here through Mayor Logo. Yeah, so the Civic Awards presentation,
Yeah.
yeah. So we do need to get those out on both the website, and we did that Let's Talk last year as well. Hopefully we get a lot of people that nominate people within the community for those awards. And then last year it was done at Canada Day as well. So I did also want to comment that I have reached out. I can work with the CAO. I was speaking with the OPP because they did reach out to me already regarding events for this year. And I have already started on Canada Day based on last year's. Last year's was kind of an informal ad hoc group as far as it was members from the Parks and Rec Committee, as well as volunteers from previous iterations of the Canada Day Committee. Specifically, Dave Herndon was a big volunteer on pushing Canada Day through last year. And so based on those, I have already gone ahead and done some things and booked the inflatables already. So, and that budget for Canada Day is, when I worked on the budget for Rec and Culture, it's included in the events budget line item. I included the amount for Canada Day within that already.
Thank you.
That's great.
That's good to know. Go ahead.
Through your worship, just one question, Jen, can you remind me, when we do the awards, is there an award for local companies or that? Because of what happened with the storm and that, I think it's a great opportunity for the town, like the Lass and Ladle and the Esso station and people like that. Do we offer awards to local communities, or is it just, it would be the person that runs it, like it would be Terry, or would it be, could we do an award for like the Lass and Ladle and the Grafton, Esso and the Grafton Inn and that?
Through you, Mayor Logal, I'd have to check and see what it says. If not, it could always come back to council to be updated to include local businesses. But if I'm remembering correctly, I think it does, because I believe one of the new categories that we had that council approved last year did stipulate that it could be businesses. It was for COVID, people that went above and beyond during COVID. But I'd have to go back and look at that.
Okay, thank you. That would be great to be able to recognize some of them.
Okay, so you have a motion on the floor to approve of an ad hoc committee for Canada Day celebration.
Okay, all in favor? Motion's carried. Okay. Yes, go ahead.
just one more question through you, Mayor Logo. Jennifer, did you catch that getting an email out to our committee? Could you do that for us about the ad hoc committee?
Yes, through you, Mayor Logal, I will send out an email to the committee.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 11. 11.1, report from the full Leach treasurer dated March 7th, 2023, regarding the 2022 council remuneration and expenses. Excuse me. Be resolved, the council of the township of Donald will receive and file a report on 2022 council remuneration and expenses. Mover to seconder. Moved by Councillor Ainsworth and seconded by Councilor O'Neill. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Council report from Nicole Finham, treasurer dated March 7th regarding 2022 development charge reserves fund. Who was second for that? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councilor Ainsworth. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Just a quick question through your worship, maybe you can even answer it, Mr. Mayor, is what are the rules and regulations with the DC funds? What can they exactly be spent on? This question was asked me from the library before about,
So is to be for new developments, not to, so for instance, a fire truck, if it's not going to be a fire truck that you're replacing, like a new fire truck in addition to the fleet, then it's not covered under development charges. Same with public works. If the township were to take on new roads and you needed another tandem truck, then you could apply their DCs for that tandem truck.
Okay.
So it's for new development. It's because of increase in, like we've had a 33 or a 8.8% increase in population. So there may be areas where we need to increase our fleets or buildings. So stuff like that would be covered under the development charges.
But not just, so I understand, but because we need a new fire truck. We can't use fire money to purchase and replace the fire.
Right, unless you can make the argument that you're doing it because you have increased population.
so the second question is the issue about the PC government saying something about DC charges that you can only keep a maximum of 15% or something that was brought up at the library. Has that passed yet? Or in other words, they're forcing you to spend the money. They don't want
Large reserves.
they don't want huge reserves. So what Mr. Ford's saying is you have to spend, you can only keep 15% of it or something back and the rest has to be spent. Is that gone through yet or no? Or,
I'd have to check, Councillor Booth, I don't know.
okay.
It's in the
I will know.
legislation. It was put in the legislation.
I don't know if it's Bruce C. Royal Center.
Yeah.
Because if that's the case, we've got some pretty big things here that we're going to have to start looking at what we qualify for.
And am I correct in saying if we don't use it, then they claw back?
I believe so, but again.
Or I think it was, you're not allowed to contribute to that anymore. So if you had $500,000 in the public works and you didn't spend it, then you can't contribute to that account anymore or whatever. So they're forcing you, in other words, spend it.
Yeah, if you can.
Yeah.
Well, the cemeteries is a hard one. I guess we're gonna have to show that we need more cemeteries out there. So
That was the easy one. The lady wants the
Columbarium.
columbarium. That one's the easiest I saw on the list.
Not yet. You need to call the vote.
Okay, all in favor of that report? Gary? Report from Nicole Leach, treasurer dated March 7th, 2023, regarding the 2022 public sector salary disclosure. Be resolved, the council of the township of Alberta receive and file the 2022 public sector salaries disclosure report. The mover and a mover and a second, please. Moved by Councilor Booth, second by Councilor O'Neill. Any discussion? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
I just wondered what the benefit part is here. We have the salary and then we have the benefit. What is the benefit?
That would be a treasury question. I'm sorry.
That's probably your total salary because you get a salary plus.
That's not the benefit. It's not.
I can
No.
answer something. Part of it could be is if you received uniforms. I know for my staff, part of the benefits is if they got other benefits where they were allowed uniform and safety shoes and things like that, that wouldn't come under your salary, but it comes under. Now, obviously, we don't dress the CEO, so I guess he didn't spend $1,200 on a suit.
I'm telling you, he's shiny new penny over there. I'd be just kind of interested moving forward what that benefit is, because I know the benefits run around 35% of a salary.
I can get a breakout of that through our president.
All good. Gary? Next we're moving on to 12, administration report from Pat Kemp, clerk, dated March 7th, 2023. Results for request for proposal, and that was for the Grafton well replacement, RFP 02 2022. Pat, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So as council is aware, we did put out an RFP for the well replacement. We did have 3 bids came in. 2 of the bids were comparable. One was excessively high. We think the individual that submitted that, or the company that submitted the bid, were looking at the whole program, not just the engineering, which is what the RFP was for. The other thing was the number of hours for the 2 bidders. So the 2 lower bidders, one was 1,500, the other was 1,700 staff hours. The one that was excessively high was 5,500 of staff hours. So that would make part of the reason why the bid. So was speaking with Grant Parkinson from GM Plan. We just verified again that the bid that was submitted is on track, and that it is within budget, and we're recommending that council approve that company to move forward so that we can start working on the well replacement.
Resolution be resolved that the council of the township of Allen McCollum received a report from the clerk dated March 7th, 2023 regarding the replacement results of for request of proposal RFP 02 2022 for the Grafton well replacement, and further the council award the contract for the Grafton well replacement to the Greer Galloway Group, as they were the lowest bid received, meeting the RFP specifications and are within budget. Mover to second. Moved by Councillor Booth, second by Councillor Ainsworth. Discussion. Go ahead, Councillor Booth.
Through your worship, I guess you partially answered my question, Pat. So this is just the engineering part. So this is within budget. I guess you can't tell us what the budget amount, what we did budget for engineering, or like, is it way under budget? Are we close? Are we?
We're very close to what we had, when we filed the grant application, we broke down the details, and we are very close to what, so overall it's within budget. The budget was $1.7 million. And the quote for engineering is very close to what, we also have a contingency in that fund as well.
Okay, so I guess the next part is then when we move forward with the actual people digging the well and everything like that, that'll be something we have to hope that we come in on budget too.
Right, and we'll have to do another RFP.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So, continuing on from that, is that what we're going to next?
So we'll,
The process goes next.
yeah, so we'll be meeting with the successful bidder. They have to provide us with insurance and with WSIB and sign the documents. And then after that, we'll come up with a timeline. We have a generic timeline of when we thought it would be completed, but we'll come up with a more specific timeline now that we get to meet with the engineers of record, and then we can bring that back to both the water committee and to council.
When is that date?
We're to meet with them around the 20, to complete it, it's in 2024.
And Greer Galloway, can you tell me anything about them? Is that-
They're a company that's out of Peterborough. They do have experience in engineering for wells. They have been around as long as I have, so a long time.
Okay.
And I've worked with them in the past on different projects, and Grant Parkinson also did a reference check for them to make sure that they were reliable, and they came in on budget and on time with the projects that they've done in the past. So
They've worked with the township before too.
So have they? So they're big. Really big?
Yeah, the fair size, yeah.
Okay, all in favor? Motion's carried. Go ahead and go we're gonna move on to committee reports. And the first three are for the library board minutes of January 9th, 2023, the library board minutes of January 19th, 2023, and the library board meeting minutes of February 6th, 2023. Be resolved that the library board minutes of January 9th, January 19th, and February 6th be received and filed. Mover and seconder. Moved by Mary Catherine, seconded by Councilor Ainsworth. Any comments, discussions? Go ahead.
This has to do with the governance of the library board. In one of the minutes, I read about the renaming of the Centerton Library. I do hope the library board does some in-depth discussions before they do that. I know one of the people on there wondered if there was a bylaw or something in place for naming buildings after people. But I wouldn't support the thought that they're doing here.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it, why is
I don't recall ever seeing the name. Do you know?
I haven't-
I don't.
I haven't been looking for one, but I haven't
I don't
come
recall.
across one.
because there should, it has to be moved well vetted, and it should be vetted through council too as well.
I guess it would be vetted through council if we accept the minutes. That's just what I'm thinking. I'm not too sure of the process.
No, I didn't think they'd have to give someone's name before we could put the council. What do you think?
Makes sense.
Yeah, they haven't discussed it yet at the library thing, but I'm sure they have to come forward to a name to us and then council gets the ultimate decision. Just because we accept their minutes doesn't mean that we accept whatever they recommend.
There is a name forward here. I read it somewhere.
I don't think it's come up. There hasn't been any big discussions in it yet anyway, but I'm
That's
sure
good.
it'll come up. But my voice to them would be, it still has to come in front of council, and I think they should make a presentation or a delegation in front of council if they're going to do something like that.
We probably should have. Did you check and see? if
Yep, I
any-
can check.
most of it might help, your copies?
I do appreciate your clarification on that, because what does it mean when we accept their minutes and there's motions in there? The other, though, is just a logistical question. When this is referred to as the Betty LaBar Library, that is generally confusing to anyone who doesn't know who Betty LaBar is, and it becomes meaningless. So this is probably a logistical thing, but to say Grafton Library, and we can have the Betty LaBar room or the Betty LaBar space or Grafton Library dash Betty LaBar branch. But when you don't have Grafton Library and people are searching, no one knows to search for Betty LaBar. And so, yes, it was a concern, and I would get calls at the Centerton Library asking, don't you have a branch in Grafton? Because literally people couldn't find it because of the name.
Any other comments? And I guess we should clarify, if those minutes come through there, if we approve the minutes, does that mean you approve whatever it says in there?
Yes, I would say it does. So if there is this resolution that says name it to the Troy Gilmore Library and
All that
council
money.
don't agree with that, then you can accept their minutes, save and accept the resolution.
I'm not, did it actually mention me?
It might not have been
But-
this one. It might have been in a previous one.
I
read
would
it
differ with
twice.
you on that one, though, acting clerk, because it says in there that we receive and we file. We're receiving and we're filing the minutes. We're not accepting it's no different that if somebody makes a report here and we say, thank you very much, receive and file, which basically means it's filed away to Because that's how I read them, is it's received and filed, right? So that doesn't mean that we necessarily agree with everything that's said on there. That's how I've always been voting over the years, is that that's fine, that's your minutes of your meeting, but I don't necessarily, otherwise we'd be picking that apart. I'd be going through every one, but I could be wrong,
I think it needs
because
clarification.
it says there receive and file.
So my concern is down the road, you go and pull the library minutes and it says to change the Grafton Library to Troy Gilmore Library.
Yeah.
If we don't, not me, but council, if council doesn't say, no, we're not in favor of that. Is it so? Like.
Well, somebody could come and say, hey, that library was supposed to be named Troy Gilmore, and I'd say, well, show me where it came to council, and council voted on it.
No.
So, I mean, I see both points. I just don't want to be legally held to, they discuss something in the water committee or something, and now all of a sudden it's carved in stone. That I've always looked at it as it's received and filed, we've noted it. But if it's going to be the other way, then we're going to have to go through every little thing to make sure that we're picking. And then what would we do if we don't agree on something? Do we send it back and say, guess what, this little bit about you spending $100 on this, we disagree, or whatever? Or
Yeah, and you can't change their minutes. What happened
Yeah.
at their meeting happened at their meeting. So I agree with you in the fact that receive and file, but as far as if there's something that needs direction from council, it has to come to council to get the direction, like specifically.
What if we don't receive them? If we don't receive them, then they're not filed. If we have an issue with them, then it would get sent back. So that it would get sent back to them, and then they would have to discuss it again. No, you could.
Yeah, and I'm agreeing with all of that, but I think if I'm the person on the committee and we are all assigned to committees, if we can't trust that council has looked at our minutes and said, okay, what you're doing is fine. Like, otherwise, how would committees ever function? They have to know that, okay, council's looked at what this is and is fine with it. So I do think in this case, we want to say, I like your save and accept for the naming, which we, whatever, want you to do whatever process. But maybe that's got to be in the procedural bylaw and about minutes, and really think about that, because yeah, your question all of a sudden has opened a very pertinent thing. But committees need to know that council's approving of what they're doing, which I think is what receiving the minutes means. We're approving of what you're doing.
yeah, see, I disagree. I don't think we're approving. What's happened at the minutes have happened. The meeting's over with. So you're giving me information on what happened. It would be an endless circle if I said, well, we like everything, but we don't like about naming the library. Well, it's going to go back to them and they're going to be like, well, we talked about it, it happened. What are we going to do if you, I look at it as it's an information to us. Some of us are on the committee, they attend to it. I went to Ganaraska a lot of times and didn't agree with some of the stuff that was voted on, but it was accepted. But it still comes back here as receive and file. I look at it as more, Mary Catherine, as it's information for us to take. Okay, this is where the library, or this is where Public Works is going, or this is where whatever. We don't necessarily have to agree with it, because they still have to come back to us in the end and say, we want to name the library this name.
Why? If it's in the minutes, sorry, I spoke out of turn.
Because you view it as we're approving everything they do. I don't look at it like that. The way I read it is, it says in there to receive and file. We get a lot of stuff from government agencies and everything. And what do we do with it? Receive and file, which is the easy way of saying, thank you very much. We're not going to really get into a heated discussion and we file it away. That doesn't mean that we agreed with it. Nobody can come back to us and say, you accepted it and you received and filed it. Yeah, but we took no action on it.
Maybe the same point, but how would they know that they need to reconsider that discussion?
Well, if I'm on the library board, when I go to the next meeting, I'll say, listen, just so that you know, if you're considering naming this the Troy Gilmore Memorial Library, then it still has to come to council and you're still gonna have to make your delegation. Because otherwise, this would be a total legal thing. If receiving and filing means that you accept everything in that report, we're in big
I
trouble.
think we need
Because we receive
clarification.
and file hundreds of stuff every year, but that doesn't mean we agree with it.
So what I was going to suggest is that when we get minutes, whether it's library or Parks and Rec or whatever, that if there's something in there that council feels strongly that they need to have direction on, that you receive the minutes and then you ask them to bring a report back to council. And that way it'll be covered. It'll be council that makes the final decision and the committee will know if council has an issue with something.
So
I'll tell you how it's done with the county. This is good information. We meet, there's 3 people sitting, 3 members of council sitting as a committee. And listen to the presentations from our staff. And if we want something to go to council for a decision, we highlight that specific thing that goes to council for decision. I would have to say otherwise, it's assumed that it's okay, almost assumed it's okay. Does that make sense?
and just one more point.
So
That means in the short-term rental committee that you have, if something gets discussed tomorrow that I totally disagree with, and it comes here as just reviewing the minutes, then I'm gonna have to say, Joe Blow presented to the chairperson tomorrow about this and this, and just so that you know, I'm on record as I disagree with it. Because some of those recommendations that they come to still have to come to council and could all be turned down. So that's my argument is, I don't look at it as approving. I look at it as I looked and I see what your direction and what you're discussing. If I had a big issue with it, I would talk about it, but that doesn't in any way mean that I agree with everything that the committee comes forward to.
Well, I think we do need to have a bit of a clarification.
Well, just to add to it too, because there's a number of action items on here that has names on them. You know, like for Greg to do this, for the CAO to revise the budget draft for them, the CAO to email the strategic plan to them. So if we're accepting all that and we don't do anything about it, they're gonna be, well, where's all our stuff we asked for? So you're right. We've got to kind of define what we want to accept here, because if we're just reading it, I mean, because of the action items that are in here that have names on them, for people to do stuff for them. There's Jennifer Steen in here, there's Greg, and there's Troy. So, I mean, if we receive it, say that, yeah, then all those actions items, if we don't read them and kind of define what we want to do with it, they're going to figure they're going to get done.
I don't know.
I guess let me use this argument. We had Land Labs make a couple of presentations to us last year and we received and filed. Did that mean we agreed with everything Land Labs said? No. We receive and people make a delegation here. The SDR group, Mr. Corcoran's group made a delegation, everything. Thank you very much. We ask questions, receive and file, which means we've looked at it and we've filed it. Does not mean that we agree with everything somebody says there. That's my only point. Otherwise, we're going to spend hours because I will not, if it said approve the minutes or the actions in those minutes to go ahead or whatever, that's totally different, right? Otherwise, we're going to sit here for hours and go through this because I'll look through, I read their minutes, but I don't get involved too much on what really you guys discussed in your group, because that's up to you two that are there. Because I know you still have to come back to us with whatever your recommendations are.
I have a two-part answer or observation. One is apparently you already did direct them to come to council with it. So well done, Councillor Booth. It does have that in the minute. But the other is and I know I talked to you about Heritage because there's not a staff member there, so I was talking to Pat, like, how does that dynamic work? And you had suggested that there might be a column out to the side on minutes that were things that, you know, flagged, oh, council needs to. It might be a way of thinking about how to standardize the minutes coming from committees and from boards, that if there is something that can't requires council action, it has a special box or it's highlighted in green or whatever, but something that indicates, oh, wait a minute, this isn't just us doing our business as directed by you. This is something. And I would think in Heritage, for example, when they wanted to agree to get the printing costs for that book, well, that would be something that, yes, they can say, sure, this is the best printer and the best cost and blah, 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 and this is what we want to do. But ultimately, that piece would need to have a separate discussion by council. So I don't know, but it is something we could
sense.
think about and say, okay, this little piece needs some council action. Whereas in general, you're doing the business as outlined in your mandate.
And I can also tell you, so for instance, Jennifer sitting on the Parks Rec and Culture Committee, that if there's something that needs council's direction, she prepares a report and brings it to council for their direction.
Right.
And that's a little bit unusual because my recollection of previous councils, there was no staff member on the committees.
Well, even on the water committee, if there's something that the water committee are recommending, either the CAO or myself have done a report to council saying you need to approve whatever the budget item was. So
So should you have, if there was a name come up for this particular library, would you come to council and say, okay, we've done a report on it and this is what we should do? Would we accept their?
well, I'm not the staff person involved, so I'm
There's no
thinking,
staff person on library.
yeah, there's the CEO.
That,
Huh?
well, no, I'm the council rep, but as you can see in there, what I told them is that you can say whatever names you want. It's still coming back here to approval to, because I don't know like what the rules are for naming it, so. And I agree with you, the water was the same thing. Last year, we had some expenses for the roof and this and that had to be done right away. So we brought it up to council to say, just so you know, council, these prices are only good for 14 days. So we need to vote on it, yes, no, whatever it is. So I'm hoping that if you're the council rep on a committee and there's something that's very controversial and is going to have to be discussed at council, that you would bring it to us to say, listen, this is what's going on. I need some direction on. But just because you receive a file to me doesn't mean that you accept everything in the report. I wouldn't think.
I see Councillor Booth.
Huh?
I said, I
Can
see,
you check?
I will, I have it written here.
Be very interested.
Go ahead, Mike.
Through you, Mayor Logo. So again, this might be like a two-part, file for information, but for today, these action items should be looked at just to make sure that we're just not ignoring them. Because, there's one on here, CEO to revise the budget draft, CEO to email the strategic plan to the board members. Greg Booth, he verified the potential insurance claims. So for today, if we can change the way that the library board sends us their
So the
package.
CEO
is
the
them.
name, it's
I'm the
not-
CAO.
So the
so-
CEO is the CEO of the library, so that's who
Gotcha.
would be.
Yeah,
You had me worried.
my mistake.
Well, they really shouldn't be telling the CAO what to do. They have no authority.
Well, there are some in here. There are some
Well,
in
to
here with
ask,
Troy's name
to
on. it.
ask.
Yeah, so some of the ones that Councillor Ainsworth was mentioning was the CEO, which is
Yeah.
librarian CEO, not the CAO.
And they
But
use-
there could be where the CEO talks to the CAO to get more information.
And then there was a couple where Councillor Booth did come to me and ask my advice when it comes to like our website and stuff like that.
They asked about like the website. They wanted to have people. So I went to Pat and to Troy and said, no, this is the way we want it. So I would report back to them to say, that's not the way the town does it, right? If it was something big, like if they come to me with, we want to name it, this name or something like this, what do you think? Then my answer to them was, you need to make a delegation in front of council and explain your reasons why and everything, and everybody here will have the right to vote on it and accept it or not, right? But
Yeah, I didn't realize I had opened the hornet's nest, but anyway, it's good to get the hornets out.
So it's been moved and seconded, all in favor of the committee reports? That's carried. Communications, we have correspondence from the Lower Trent dated February 16, 2023 regarding a motion, request for a motion of support for the appointment of Ann Butler to the Source Water Protection Committee. We resolved the correspondence from the Lower Trent Conservation dated February 16, 2023 regarding a request for a motion of support for the appointment of Ann Buckwell to the Source Water Protection Committee be received and filed, and further that the council of the Township of Allen be received, recommend that Ann Buckwell be appointed to the Trent Conservation Coalition Source Protection Committee. But I have a mover in a second. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover and seconded by Councilor O'Neill. Discussions? Go ahead.
Her two children were in 4-H with us for a while,
Okay. She local?
Brighton area.
Oh, right there, okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? That is carried, and you're going to send I think you were asking for the note from us. Okay. Correspondence from the County of Northumberland dated February 15th regarding media release ridership for Commuter Connect Transit service continues to grow as pilot gets halfway done. Second one is A&O Communications dated February 16th and February 23rd, 2023 regarding A&O watch file. And the next one is the Ministry of Transportation dated February 23, 2023 regarding the 2022-2023 gas tax program funding allocation. Did I get a mover and a seconder to receive that? I've got a couple more. The Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry dated February 24, 2023 regarding amendments to the Ontario Regulation 16117 under the Provincial Public Lands Act and AMCTO dated February 27, 2023 regarding advocacy update 2023 free budget submissions. I can move in second with all of that information. Moved by Councilor Booth, seconded by Councilor Ainsworth.
And just before we vote, so there's a prime example of all this stuff here, we're receiving and filing it, doesn't mean that we necessarily read it all. And I think I'll go back to, I think it's upon us to read and look at it. And if there's no big, problems with it, you let it go. But I think my way of it, Pat, is somebody could come back to you and say, well, we did tell you. We told you last year that we were doing this, and it would be on us to say, yeah, geez, we received and filed it, but it no way holds us to say that we agreed with their point. But just because look at all this, and there's a pain just reading it all.
Go ahead.
I just think there is some distinction between this second group and the first group, because this is outside of our jurisdiction, whereas the libraries are operating in our building at the behest of a board that we have appointed to provide that service for us. So it's a somewhat different. And a committee for sure is a committee of council, and that much closer still.
It's too bad we couldn't change the wording.
Point taken, but receive and file is receive and file, so.
Maybe we won't receive and file the,
All in favor? Carried. 15 is bylaw 23, 2023, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 07, 2023. To appoint members to all of the boards and committees for the township of Allen, call the for the term 2022 to 2026. Be it resolved, that bylaw 23023 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 072023 to appoint members of all boards and committees for the township of Elton Calderwood for the term 2022 to 2026 be read and deemed and be passed the 7th day of March 2023. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councilor O'Neill, second by Councilor Leesburg. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Announcements and notices of motion. Councilor Leesburg.
None at this time.
Councilor Lee.
Just one, through you, your worship, that on Saturday, February 25th, Councillor Mary Catherine, Deputy Mayor Joan Stover and myself attended the Legion Public Speaking Contest. First time I've ever been to one of these, and wow, I didn't know about the rules and regulations. I had to be the timekeeper, and there was 2 timekeepers. There's more timekeepers in this than there is in a hockey game. So they take it pretty serious, but I'm sure all 3 of us had a very good time, and I'd love to do it again next year. So thank you, Deputy Mayor, for inviting us. That's it.
I did it 2 or 3 times too, and they're a lot of fun too, weren't they? And you learn a lot.
Oh,
Can you imagine-
Yeah.
can you imagine that when you were separated?
there was one girl there. I'm going to say, was she in the grade 3 to 5,
4 to 6.
4 to 6? Wow.
Was that the dreams?
No cards, nothing. Spoke for 3 minutes with nothing in front of her or that, and she ended up winning the whole thing for there. And I guess she's going to Coburg, but it was like, wow, just incredible.
Councilor Mary Catherine.
Well, I concur that that was excellent, and we held our final meeting last night for the 4-H, which has been back to baking basics, and they chose for their achievement day to do a bake-off. Unfortunately, they're not looking for council to be the judges for it. So,
A good one. Are they moving to call it Canadian cultural cooks?
Oh, it feels like it when they do that.
Do they do that? Do they watch it?
Yeah, sure. If you want to come that night, there'd be a dozen muffins made by each one, and they're competing to make the best ones.
Anything else in the guy?
No, that's good for today.
Okay. Tomorrow, Northumberland County Police Services Board will be meeting in Seneca. And all of the police service boards in the township will be there. We also had one 2 weeks ago, but that was zone 3, which includes Lindsay, Peterborough, whole big bunch parts involved. The Chamber of Commerce is holding their annual gala. I believe it's the 27th, somewhere the last Friday of the month. Historically, at least 1 or 2 people that gone from council. Historically, I think the mayor used to go to the other as to the speech, and there was 1 member of council that went that used to have to do all the judging. Were you ever involved in that?
I did it for us 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Did they do it for with COVID?
Not with COVID, but before that. That's where you go down there and you spend
Yeah.
almost a whole day.
Like
Going
it's been
through-
a full day.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Just like the judges, except the judges, the people that are putting on the shows are as good as the 2 or 4 year olds.
Yeah.
The last Friday is the 31st. Is that the date? The 27th is a Monday.
Thank you for pointing that out. It is the 24th. Okay. So somebody else wants to go, I'd be happy to let them go my place. Not then, but you should probably have 2 people go on my. About $70 or $75, unless you take a whole table. And then we can get a table discount for
Did you say the 31st? I'm
No,
no,
it's
March
the
24th.
24th. And it goes from 7 to 9 to 6 to 9. I think we should have a couple people go, so anybody want to go?
When's the date?
24th.
Friday, 24th.
You want to go? Well, we'll
I'll
probably,
take one for the team.
okay, we'll probably, over the 3 years and 4 years, send it to the person every time, so.
Good sense.
So you said it's March the 24th?
March, Friday night, March the 24th.
7 at night?
Yeah,
Okay, that's our water training.
We have the water
Okay.
training in the
That's our
morning.
water training course day too.
yeah. So I think if one of the person goes, and if you want me to go, I'll go. Well, for you approval to do that?
So for clarification, is it yourself and Deputy Mayor Stover?
Well, that's what I'm
Okay.
thinking. Maybe there's something-
And I like your idea, every, next year, maybe it's Councillor Ainsworth
Yeah.
and then Councillor O'Neill. I think, good idea.
Tell you to move in a second. Councillor, Deputy Mayor Silver, Councillor O'Neill, all in favor? Motion carried. And I have a motion, and I brought that up, we can, I'll read it first. With staff local services we provide out of the Grafton office and out of the Rose Leaf office, and see if we can offer similar services for both offices, which would make it better for climate change, and by that I mean, save gas, people back and forth, but also, and other obvious benefits. Further, the staff look at the option of providing more services electronically, similar to utilities, services, banks, etc., and use e-billing to tax bills and other invoices to provide services more efficient and cost effective. And what brought me to think of this is I got a call from someone who was irate that they had to drive all the way into Rose Deep to get a fire permit. And I've heard them too. And to me, if we can offer that similar service, or for if you're coming to Rosemead to come down to this township or this office, if somehow we can prevent the need for them to do that and offer better customer service, I think we should do that. And I don't know which services we can provide and which ones we can't, but I think staff should look at it and see with, with some training or minimal training, we can do that. Just to have your customers.
Yeah, through your mayor, yeah, we can look at what services are provided and where, and if we can make, and we'll bring it forth to council, and then in the future, if we can combine them or make it more efficient, we will. So right now, the first step is to see what services are where, so we'll do that.
That's a good point. What about, and I'm just asking this silly question, I think probably, but tax notices. Should tax notices be sent out every day?
They can. People have to sign up for it, and as long as they don't change their email address.
Yeah.
That would be an issue. And then we have some ratepayers that don't have
Yes,
email. So
but that probably is the limit, or at one time it was 70-40, and now it's probably 40. By the way, it's just an opportunity to improve customer service and get away from this issue that we had a few weeks ago with the with the tax bills and not being delivered, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know if we need a motion to take a look at that. Probably.
Yep. you need a motion.
Yes, we need a motion. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, through you, Mayor Lobo, so this motion that you have here, so we can just adopt that.
Well, that's, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd make that motion.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by,
Well, isn't it moved by you because you sent it?
Yeah, technically.
yeah, we should be.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay,
I would think so.
okay. Further discussion? All in favor? Sure. Do we need a date on that, or You're not gonna really see the sheet.
I will make you.
All right, all right, we'll trust you.
You'll remind me, but
Mayor,
Yes,
through you, so I'd have to maybe ask Counselor O'Neill, but was it Hamilton Township that residents can call in with their tax number? Sorry, not their tax number,
Roll number.
their roll number. And that would get them into a site that they could see their own tax bill right there. You don't even have to email it. Is that right, Catherine O'Neill?
Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
Councillor.
Hamilton Township, you can,
It's like a great idea.
I think Hamilton Township uses your roll number where they have a program that you can just go on their website, put in your roll number and your tax bill comes up.
there might have to be a code to that.
We can
Yeah,
look into
but it would even be better than emails, then you wouldn't have to worry about people changing stuff.
Well, that's, yeah.
So we could look around, because I mean, all this stuff is a cost savings too
Oh,
for the township. So the more you can get people online and
How many times do you do that? 4 times a year to send in tax?
Twice. We have 4
Four times,
installments,
yes,
but
yes.
2 go in the first one, 2 in the last one.
But still, that's, if
That's-
you were mailing them all.
Yeah.
That's 8,000.
Yeah, for 8,000 bills, yeah.
At $1 each. If you do $8,000.
no, absolutely.
Good party point.
Don't think.
Okay, that's all I had. Deputy Mayor Stoll.
Okay, I have a couple of things through you, Mayor Lobo. This Friday is World Day of Prayer and it's worldwide. This year it is in Eddystone and I believe it's starting at 2:00. And the next thing is the great time that we had at the Legion with the speeches. And I would like to bring the participants to council to have them recognized, if that's possible. I was thinking of a night meeting.
And how many participants were there?
I think there was 10 or 12.
I think 12.
Was there 12?
And you just invite them and.
And just to recognize them and give them a participation. And we would work in conjunction with the Legion.
And could the mayor give a speech to the kids then?
Yes, yeah, the mayor could give a speech on
are you
making
timed?
speech.
no cards.
And timed.
Can you try it? That's a great idea.
And maybe, I mean, the lady that won everything that day was on Dreams and it was 3 minutes. So it might be something where she could do her speech.
I think that's great. When are they going on?
Yes, they're going on. I think it's the last week of March and I'll have to get the date for that. Was it the 24th? Or the 25th, maybe. They're in Coburg. And so we're sending, well, the Grafton area is sending, what are we sending, 4 or 5 kids to go
3.
forward?
One.
Is it 3? And I was glad I wasn't timekeeping because I thought that was harder than judging. But I wonder now.
No.
Just to add to this great idea, I think we should bring the coordinators from the Legion. They put a lot of work into that and they need to be clapped for too.
That's a good point.
Okay, who's going to invite?
I can,
We'll look after that. We'll have to coordinate a time for that.
yes, I'll work with that. With Pat. And the second is the notice of motion that I have here. And the reason it came back is because I added to it. And so I will read it again. Notice of motion, statement of policy and procedure include duty of care for volunteers of Alma Haldeman. Be it resolved that HR 2.22.010N be revised to reflect the below changes. That HR 1.03.ON paragraph 1.04 be removed. that HR 2.08.0N include the word volunteer, that HR 2.22.0 and 4F include HR 5.01.0N, that HR 5.01.0N include the word volunteer, and that the word volunteer be used in any other statement of policy and procedure that would provide duty of care for volunteers of Alma Calderman. And further, that a volunteer coordinator be put in place for the volunteers of Alma Calderman. And that's the end of my motion.
Can you explain a little bit what you're talking about?
I can explain when we bring this forward. The first one is HR 1.03.0 and paragraph 1.04 be removed, because it's saying that if you reproduce any part of the whole binder, that you could be terminated. So the problem being the policy and procedure binder. And so the problem being that the whole binder has been published online on the October 6th council meetings. So it's a bit redundant to have that paragraph in there. When that's a good question.
Predates me.
Pardon me?
Said predates me, I
I'll
don't
have to
know.
look into it, and I'll work with our HR coordinator
Mhm,
and
mhm.
to look at.
And as far as everything else goes, there's no protection for a volunteer. And the policy itself, our volunteer policy, we aren't complying with at all at the moment. We have not put out any police checks. None of that has been done. We have, I know Pat is working on orientation. Do we have a date for training for them?
We're looking at March 23rd, but it hasn't been finalized yet, either March 30th or March 23rd, so.
Okay, so when you get reading the policies, you will see that there's no protection for volunteers in any of the HR policies. Their only protection is for employees. So the volunteers have no protection for any HR policy or any HR issues. They're not recognized in any of the other policies. So they need to be recognized.
I don't know.
Well, you won't know until it comes forward.
I'll bring it forward. So when going back is when a lot of these policies were created, and maybe that's when the volunteer sort of were set aside. So now we're bringing back volunteers, so our policy needs to reflect, be updated to reflect.
And protect the
You're right.
protect the volunteer, because at the moment, there's no protection for volunteers. So that's the crux of the whole thing right there.
So I'm glad we're discussing this. I thought it had something more to do with insurance and that type of stuff.
Well, that's another issue. I haven't even touched on the insurance issue. That is another problem or another issue in itself, but right now, volunteers have no protection and they're fair game. Well, anything could happen to them because they don't fit into any other area when HR policies come into play.
We'll take it, stop taking it back.
Yep, oh yeah.
Mhm. Thank you.
You need to get a seconder on that motion, please.
Okay. Moving to second here.
Mover was Deputy Mayor Stover.
Councilman.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? All in favor? Here. Next we have. The Mayor's over.
Oh, I just did all mine.
No, one more page that.
Oh,
Planning meeting.
oh, geez, I've been busy, haven't I? Yeah,
So have we.
turn that, yeah. Oh, good, Counselor Booth, you'll be in for this one to vote on.
You okay, everybody? Can move to the next, or do you want to-
I don't,
Are you okay? Yeah.
yes, well, I turned them. Notice of motion, road assumption, be it resolved that staff prepare a bylaw to assume the following roads. Parkview Drive and Hampton Crescent into the township of Alma Calderman road system.
Okay, you want to tell us a little bit what you're talking about?
Well, I had a discussion about this with the last meeting. This has to do with part of a road that is in the Roseneath Landing area that it's more of a housekeeping issue. It was,
It's not Roseneath Landing.
I thought it was Roseneath Landing.
It's either Sherwood or.
Is it
Might be SharePoint.
SharePoint? So it was, ready to be assumed back in 2008, was it, or 10? I don't know if it was that far back, but anyway, the engineer signed off on it and it had to do with putting up a checkerboard sign. And so it's ready to go and it's just more of a housekeeping issue to have it assumed.
Yeah, through your worship. Yes, right now it's currently a hot mix, so hard top road, good ditches, all the signs are there. We're assuming it, we're maintaining it now, so as Deputy Mayor stated, it's a housekeeping issue, so yeah, we're already doing it, so we just need to tidy it up.
And it was brought to, so everybody knows it was brought to the attention of the presidents. We've had several other issues and we've listened to those issues and Troy and Jennifer have prepared something. If you guys look at it, just look at it. Because we were going to listen to the person's complaint
Yes.
and then we'll get it out to you probably this week.
Mhm.
Okay?
We need a seconder
So
for that
we
motion.
need a
please.
seconder for this motion. Councilor Booth, all in favor? Motion's carried, thank you. Okay, let's take 5 minutes.
Oh, getting ready for the closed session.
Just on. No,
You need-
SharePoint.
Pardon? A motion with your point?
Motion going second.
Well, you can
Yeah,
recess
yeah.
and you can recess either one.
Wow. 10-minute recess, and then we'll go back and go into a closed session.
We're recessing already to go. Doesn't matter, just pass a motion.
Go ahead, Councilor Booth.
No, I was gonna make the motion.
You did. Seconded by
Right.
Councilor, pardon, Deputy Mayor Stover. All in favor? Carried.
I would have recessed first. But
And to open and finish off the meeting. So first of all, I'll make a motion, or pardon, receive a motion that we're going to close. So I have a motion to close. Moved by Councilor Booth. Seconded by Councilor Ainsworth. We'll do that at 3:12. All in favor? Gary? So is there anybody in the,
Yep. And
Thank you, Wanda. We're going back into a regular session. So I'll read the resolution. Be resolved that the council of the township of Alcoa reconvene to a regular session at 4:52. Moving second, moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councilor O'Neill. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next, we have the approval of the confirming bylaw. Be resolved the bylaw number 22-2023 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular session of council held on Tuesday, March 7th, 2023, read and being passed the 7th day of March 2023. Mover to seconder. Moved by Councilor Ainsworth, seconded by Councilor O'Neill. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. And a motion to adjourn at 4:54. Be resolved the regular session of the council of Tuesday, March 7th, 2023, be adjourned at 4:54. Mover to seconder. By Council Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councilor Ainsworth. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.